Hello, I'm Peoria Mayor Kathy Carlat. Thank you for joining me today on Peoria Pulse, an insider's view of our city. As mayor of a growing city, one of my top priorities is economic development. I want Peoria to be the home of corporate and regional headquarters. I want to bring jobs closer to home so our citizens can spend more time here, enjoying what makes Peoria so great. Part of the strategy to attracting more jobs to our city is to focus on a few cutting-edge industries. And one of those industries is medical device development and manufacturing. Today, I'm talking with Mary Ann Guerra, founder and CEO of BioAccel. Mary Ann has held many roles in health and technology and has many accolades, including being named one of the top 25 women in business, as well as the Arizona Hispanic Chamber of Commerce Woman of the Year. Mary Ann, welcome. I'm so glad you're here today.
Well, Mayor, it is a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, well, of course. This is such an exciting subject. You know, BioAccel has the tagline, Catapulting Arizona Bioscience. That is so exciting and full of movement. I just love that tagline. Please tell me a little bit about BioAccel.
Well, BioAccel was formed 6 years ago here to support actually the whole state of Arizona. And we were trying to fill a niche that needed to be filled and actually still needs to be filled. It is, we call it the Valley of Death. And it is that valley that is between a great research outcome that could be generated out of a university or an entrepreneur or a hospital physician, and getting it to the point that it is actually able to be commercialized and sold as a product. So that is called the Valley of Death, and it's called that because it's the highest risk. It's where the technology will either fail or succeed. It's where the market will say, we like it or we don't like it. And getting it through there is difficult for any industry. But in the medical field, the biosciences, it's harder because we say our valley is deeper and wider because you've got a regulatory challenge that some of the industries don't have. We've got the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, and we've got to get most of our devices and our products through the regulatory process. So that always takes a little longer and it's more expensive, and then there's the chance that it won't get approved. Then you have reimbursement of the CMS. And so those are the challenges that make it a little bit harder to get through that Valley of Death. And that's where BioAccel sits, right in that Valley of Death, trying to help those companies get to the other side.
Wow, what a critical juncture. Okay, and so there is BioAccel, and then there is the partnership that Peoria entered into with BioAccel, which is called BioInspire.
Absolutely, right.
So tell us about that.
Well, I just love the partnership because we have an opportunity to work with all of the municipalities, and that's a great thing because everybody's trying to make a difference. But the partnership that we have with the city of Peoria, I think, is extraordinary, and it's visionary, and it's a vision that has a little risk behind it, which I think is really amazing that the city of Peoria has embraced that to address this problem and to build an industry in the city of Peoria that can catapult Peoria to a new level of being a player not only in Arizona but in the nation and globally. So you've got the focus of BioInspire is how do we take these early stage medical device companies and get them to the point that they are sustainable, that they can grow in Peoria, and that they can create an industry for Peoria that doesn't exist. And the benefit and I think the intelligence, the wiseness of the city of Peoria has been choosing medical devices, because we've got in the state of Arizona Medtronic, we've got Gore, and we've got Bard, which are three major medical device companies that have not only a local presence and a national presence, but they've got a global impact. And so you're taking an industry where you've got that ecosystem around that can help us do what we're trying to do better. And so BioInspire is that partnership where we're working with the city, we have a facility, we look for the companies, BioAccel uses our programs to basically find the companies, figure out which companies are the ones that we think are worth investing in, and then getting them here in the facility and wrapping around the business services, technical services, funding, and helping them be successful faster.
Well, how do you decide which companies to select?
Okay, that's a very good thing, good question, because that's not easy to do. And I wish I had a crystal ball and knew what to do.
Don't
but,
we all?
Yeah, no, exactly. We could do a lot more than just pick medical device companies, right? But the importance of that is you can't guarantee you're going to pick all the winners. But what you can do is you can say, we've got some solid criteria that we're going to look at as we make these selections. So, and again, this is criteria that many use to make their selections, but you're looking at what is the technology and where is it? Has it gone through proof of concept, or is it just a research paper that came out of the universities? Because that's a great idea, but that's got a long way to go. So you look at the technology, you look at, does it have patent protection? So that means, if we create a company around it, is somebody going to be able to come in and say, whoa, stop, we have a patent and you've just infringed our patent. So you want to have freedom to operate is the term that's used. So we make sure that there's freedom to operate and that technology is protected. We then look at that regulatory pathway. We say, okay, what's that approach and how do we attack it quickly? Can we attack it quickly so that we'll know sooner rather than later what the challenges are going to be from that perspective? We look at reimbursement. So, can there be a reimbursement from the federal government that would make it easier to sell in the market? So all of those things are assessed, and we narrow it down to saying, this company looks like at least all of the right pieces are there. Then we are so lucky because we were able to pull together this council of advisors. And I think for Peoria, this is really a pretty amazing thing too, because these council members come from all over the United States, and they come to Peoria, they come to BioInspire, and they are the ones who look at the companies, they look at all the data that we've put together and our recommendation. They look at the potential economic impact for the city of Peoria, and will there be jobs, and is this a viable industry? And then they make the decision, basically. They make the decision on, we think you should fund this, or we don't think you should fund this, and here's what this company needs to be doing next in their expert opinion. Now that is chaired by Enrica Pocosa, who is a partner with HLM Ventures in Boston, Massachusetts. It's got Medtronic on it. It's got W.L. Gore on it. It has got an advisor out of Stanford University, their biodesign program. It has Blue Cross Blue Shield, their chief medical officer and their investment officer on it, just to name a few. I mean, these are significant players. And the thing that's wonderful about this group is not only do they have great advice and counsel to offer, and then to mentor the companies once they're in the facility, but they also have an interest. As a venture partner, they're always looking for medical device. We chose that group because they're a group that might fund this company later on when it's become more successful and it's going for venture financing. Bard, Gore, Medtronic, they're looking for the next new device that they can potentially have incorporated into their organization or participate with. So it's all of the right people, partnerships, and experts to help us make the best decisions. And so that is the process, and then they help us. Those companies report to them at least once or twice a year. They come in, they do presentations, and then they get that ongoing mentorship from that council saying, you need to pivot, you need to go in this direction, and then they make connections. They make calls and say, hey, you need to talk to this expert, we'll do that.
What an incredible asset. I mean, there's really a well-rounded strategic group. And so in addition to having the advice and mentorship and funding from this group and others, they also have within their offices a shared laboratory and space and other assets that come to the fortunate who are selected.
That's right.
You want to tell me a little bit about some of that?
Oh, there are companies?
Other assets. Well, and then the companies.
Okay. Well, the assets.
In the companies too.
I mean, the one thing we've seen with incubator programs, and this was where, getting back to the city council, you're the mayor now, you were on the city council when the decision was made. It was novel, it was different, and you understood that it wasn't just a building. And there are a lot of incubators around the state, and there's a lot of buildings, and that's great because all these companies need buildings. but they actually need a lot more than a facility. And that is a problem that the state of Arizona faces, is that everybody wants to build buildings, but nobody wants to provide those additional resources that the companies need. Now, we've made movement on that, and I just think the city of Peoria has actually made the most movement on that in terms of the resources they're willing to put around it. But Arizona Commerce Authority has funding, Flynn Foundation has put funding in. So there's now places where our companies can go to get those resources in addition to what we do. But what we do is we actually invest in them, so we put money to allow them to advance their technology. But when we invest in them, we also tell them how to spend that money. So, you know, it's like your kids. You don't just give them a checkbook. You say, okay, here's what you're supposed to spend on. Here's your budget. So, and that budget is designed and the milestones we call them. So here's the outcome we expect you to get with our investment. And here are the milestones you have to achieve to make us happy and to get your technology to where we think it needs to go. Now, with that, we tranche the money. So you don't just get a big check at the beginning, you have to meet those milestones. Now the beauty of that is, one, is it keeps them focused. And we've also found that it accelerates their progress because they want to get to the next ability to get their next increment of dollars. And so it works really well. But tied to that is we then are available to help them with the business and technical advice. So that's when the Council of Advisors, if they run into a challenge of, you know, developing the device and there's a technical problem, we call our network of people to get on the phone and help them. On a regulatory basis, we've actually just brought in a group that is residing part-time with us at BioInspire to help with the regulatory piece, so that we look at that and we say, okay, you need to have your strategy laid out so that if you're going to do a clinical study, you're doing the clinical study that is the study that the FDA wants to see to give them the data that they need to approve your technology. And so it's very strategic. So that's the value we add, is we don't wait for them to make the mistakes and then they have to fix it and then they've wasted really critical resources and time. We're trying to put that at the beginning so that they've got a roadmap that they can follow, but they also have the fuel with the funding and the resources to get on that road and follow that roadmap. And I think that's what's so important, that integration of resources, space, and technical and business support.
Right, and they are so fortunate to be able to have all of those resources. Tell me a little bit about the companies that have been selected.
So we've been lucky, and we started, I guess it was about 3 years ago. And what we do is it's tough. So we had our first round where we did an open recruitment, and then I do want to talk about a new little competition that we're going to have this year to try to do more of that. But we basically had a recruitment, and we call it like our first class of companies in, and they've been pretty amazing companies. I think that when you think of Arizona, that these companies are in Arizona, that they're in Peoria. For example, in the first class, we had Nacio, which is a dental implant, and it's using a nanotechnology for a new, better dental implant. Now that's great. They've advanced their technology there. They're doing the manufacturing of the devices in our core lab there. They're working on part 2 of an FDA approval. So that's pretty exciting. It's totally new. We had a company, StimWave, that had a nano device that was implanted in the spine to do pain management. At this point in time, they've gotten all the way through their approvals in Europe, they've gotten all their FDA approvals, and they're in sales in the United States. And then Yolia was also in our first class, which is a contact lens company that you wear the contact lens for 5 days with drops, and you don't need reading glasses for the next 12 to 24 months. We're just getting that into FDA, and we're hoping that the clinical trials will be started in the next year, and hopefully the people in the city of Peoria will be on those clinical trials and be able to use those contact lenses.
Right. So it looks like you're looking for a problem that needs to be solved.
That's absolutely.
With these companies.
Well, you hit the nail on the head, Kathy, because a lot of what we see in that diligence process that we talked about was great ideas. The universities, we love them. Investigator-initiated research. I came out of the NIH. NIH, $30 billion funding investigator-initiated research. but it's just research. It's a great idea. They look at something. But a lot of those ideas come out and they're not addressing serious problems that face the health community. They may at some point in time, but they're not directed research. It's independent research. And one of the things that we have to bring to that is the discipline of saying it may be a great research idea. It might even win a Nobel Prize, but is it something that can be put into a product that is going to be available to the market and that somebody's going to buy that product? And there's two different things, both important, but our job is to find the one that has that market potential and can be successful.
Well,
and so you really do want to be solving real problems.
And I know you want to talk about this, but before we do, I just wanted to ask one question. The benefit for Peoria in the long run, after these businesses find a way to get their product into the market, then they are a real company, a real boy, if you will. I'm a real boy. And so then they move their business into Peoria?
Well, that's the hope. So the way we try to structure our deals to the best degree that we possibly can, and BioAccel can put hooks in to say, with this investment, you have to stay in the city. With this, you have to stay in the incubator, and we do that. So all of our deals have hooks. But in the end, you want them to want to be there, right?
Sure.
And I think that's, you can have all the paper you want, but we want to build that enterprise, that ecosystem, that where they want to stay there. And I think that's where the city of Peoria, again, has really stepped to the plate. In talking to news reporters recently, it's you have to understand the whole context of what is being done and what the city's tried to do. So 5 years ago, you had an economic plan for how you're going to advance the city and take it into the new millennium. I mean, your vision for the future. And you said, we need industry, we need education, we need housing, we need entertainment. And I've watched the city do all of that. You've brought in Trine, you've brought in Huntington, you've got the bioscience high school opened up now. You're hitting all of those, but it doesn't happen in a day. And
unfortunately.
So, yeah, I know. I wish I could wave that, get that crystal ball, wave that wand, and have it happen. And so the idea is we've got to build that critical mass, and we're going to bring the great companies in, and somebody else is going to see that great company, and they're going to every year. They're going to grow and they're going to build. We're going to have more and more companies that are staying and growing in Peoria.
They're staying in Peoria, and that is key and a critical part of our vision and our strategy.
Absolutely.
And I know Peoria already has a broad base of high knowledge citizens, citizens who are working in high knowledge fields, but they're having to go to other cities to do it. I want those high knowledge fields to be employed here within our city. So this serves the new companies, and it serves BioAccel, and it serves BioInspire, and it serves the citizens of the city of Peoria.
Well, everybody knows people want to live in Peoria because the quality of life in Peoria is great. So now we have to match the jobs to getting the people who are living here to having jobs that are here. And I think we're on our way to doing that. Again, the one thing is you have startup companies and they're small when they start up. So it's only a couple jobs here and there, and so that's part of it is we do the early investment, but one of the other things that BioAccel really tries to do with the companies is find other investment so that they can have more money to grow their labor force and grow their company here. Now, one of the challenges is the state doesn't have an investment community per se here. There's no venture fund in the biosciences here in the state of Arizona. All of the money that we've gotten, and we've been really good. All of our companies have gotten, well, not all of our companies, but every funding award from like Arizona Commerce Authority, the Flynn Foundation, that's available. At least one of our companies have gotten all of those, and a couple of our companies, the $250,000 non-dilutive grant that comes out of the Arizona Commerce Authority, their challenge grant. 4 of our companies have gotten that.
That's
and
incredible.
The company we just recruited, Right Bio, that is relocating here from Scottsdale, just got that award on the last round. So that's pretty impressive in terms of its percent of the number of those awards that have been given out in the state. So that's what allows us in combination. They get that with what we do to then have resources to hire people. And so I think that over time, as each of these companies grows, as they become more successful, other companies see that and say, that's working. That's working. We want to be part of that. One is, if we're associated with BioInspire, it helps you get these awards. It's a good, that's a good connection.
Begets commerce.
Right, exactly. Then you look and you say, oh, well, boy, Nastio got a Series A financing, and Yulia got its local investments, and a couple of those personal investments were local folks that, frankly, BioAccel made connections and introduced them to. Wow. And Verve has their Series A and Series B financing. So these are companies that have gotten through this valley of death, not only with their products, but getting funding, but it's coming from outside the state. So what we have to do is continue to do what we're doing, the city of Peoria, continue to build these companies so that the local investors see that and start to invest. And when the local investors start to invest in the companies that are in this state, then they can push those companies to stay and grow in this state. So Peoria is doing all the right things. We just got to get the rest of the state to do what Peoria is doing.
Right. Well, tell me about West Nexus.
So, one of the things that we really wanted to do for the city of Peoria was not only build the incubator, but build your brand and build your image, and really promote all the wonderful things you're doing, because I think you are a role model for other municipalities in terms of having a vision, staying on the vision, and knowing that there may be bumps in the road, but staying on track. One of the things that we see is people get things started and then they stop because they don't see that immediate success. And this is clearly an industry in what we're doing that you got to be in for the long haul. I remember at the first city council meeting, I said, if you think you're going to do this for 2 or 3 years, don't even start, because you'll just waste your money. You've got to stay in it, build, and then compound all of those things. And then you start to see you've attracted Huntington, you've attracted Trine. We're attracting all of these folks because now when they think of Peoria, they see a broader vision for Peoria.
Innovation.
Right. And so we've really done, when we go out, and I was lucky enough to be appointed to Secretary Pritzker's National Advisory Council for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. So I'm in DC talking about what's going on here in Peoria. And after getting them to know it's not Peoria, Illinois, it's Peoria,
right.
Arizona, but now they know. And now they know what's happening. And, they tell me this model that you're doing in Peoria, this public-private partnership, really is something that should be recognized at the national level. So Peoria is getting recognized for what they're doing here. But what we realize is we actually have a lot of attention nationally, but we wanted to get more locally because we think that there's a lot more activity going on than any of us know about. So we decided that we want to have our own little competition just in the West Valley. So we're calling it West Nexus. We're advancing what's next in the West Valley. And the idea is to go out, talk to the communities, talk to the entrepreneurs, the hospitals, and say, what do you have? Do you have folks that have ideas? Can they potentially grow by getting the resources that we have to offer at BioInspire? And so we're announcing it in the next couple of weeks. You're going to be seeing tweets and Facebook, and Remy Turner, who kind of runs our programs out at BioInspire, is going to go out and meeting with the community. And the idea is we're going to, it'll only be West Valley. So we really want to show that the West Valley's got talent and that we capitalize on that talent and the people that are here, and that, we'll create jobs and they'll be local, and it brings it all together. We'll give them space for the year to help them get started. We'll give them a little bit of money, $25,000, to kind of look at their strategy, look at that. We'll bring our regulatory, all of our folks, and really try to get them a jump start. Now, the benefit of that is if they advance in that year and they show that they've got some substantive company that can be grown, then they'll be eligible for our bigger programs, and then we'll put them before our council of advisors, and then they'll already be in the queue.
I was going to say it's an incubator for an incubator.
It is.
It
is.
That's
it
incredible.
Is. But part of what we really want to do is we want the West Valley to know what's going on in BioInspire and what's available in the city of Peoria. And we want to know what's going on out there, because we may find things that don't fit what we're trying to do in Peoria, but we may find things that are good for Surprises Incubator, or, so we want this to be very collaborative. We don't want to look like we're trying to take companies from other municipalities, because all of us are struggling. We don't want to bring anybody down. We want to bring everybody up. Right. And I think that, again, way back when we talked about this, our niche is medical devices. So that's what we want to do, and we want to wrap the skills and the talent around advancing that. But if there's other areas in this valley that are focusing on other expertise, and we identify those companies and we can direct them to places, everybody wins.
Well, and we just have a 1 quick minute left, but I just want to say that the model of BioAccel is so great that I know that other states, other cities, other counties are looking at, asking you to come there and help out. So go ahead and tell me about that.
Okay, so,
I gave it. We don't want to share.
I know.
I know.
It's one of those things. But sometimes the prophet's not recognized in their own village. So it's that old saying. But I gave a talk at USC, and I was telling them about the public-private partnership that we had here with the city of Peoria and how well it worked, because we were looking at what was the economic impact and how could we bring the medical device industry to help from an economic impact and a job recruitment, workforce development. And they loved it. And then we found out that LA County is actually working on trying to create a bioscience ecosystem in LA County. And they came up to me after, and a lot of people come up, talk, and say, oh, that's great, it's wonderful. Except they actually called after and said, we are doing this. Can you help us design what you're doing in Peoria here in LA County? So, I don't know where that will go, but from our perspective, the recognition that the model between government and a nonprofit like us is what they really liked. It was the same thing, is that we need to build the private companies, but government has to have a mechanism on how they can interact to have that happen. And when they saw the way we designed it in Peoria, with resources going in, profit sharing, facilities being brought in, the community being brought in, they said that's exactly what they need to do over there. And hopefully we'll be able to help them do it, if not just by giving them advice and counsel, but we did talk about BioAccel SoCal, so maybe what we'll see anyway.
Well, it speaks volumes, though, of the quality and the service that you deliver and your entire model for somebody in LA County to be looking at what's happening in Peoria, Arizona. And
I love it. I love it that we're bringing that attraction to the city. So thank you for taking vision and allowing it to become a reality, because that's really what the city of Peoria has done. And you've actually built that first bridge across the Valley of Death here in Arizona. So I applaud the city of Peoria.
Thank you for saying that. And for us, it is really, it just all comes down to what can we do to make our citizens a better life in the city of Peoria.
And bring health to them too, because these bring the latest products to them first.
Health and economics.
Yep, there you go.
Well, thank you, Mary Ann. Thank you for all of your efforts to bring jobs to the state of Arizona and to the city of Peoria. We really appreciate everything, and thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Thank you for joining me today on Peoria Pulse. I hope you'll tune in again to hear about the issues and meet some of the people helping to make Peoria an even better place to live.